So the industry that I represent is the financial and related professional services industry. So a big part of the UK economy, over 10% of kind of economic output here in the UK, and employs a huge number of people, about 2.3 million people spread across the UK. And the reason that it's important is that we're a customer-facing industry. So whenever you get customers involved, there's going to be that need to have convenience. And cyber is generally the point which gets exploited in between convenience and security. But as a customer-facing set of industries, we need to be able to serve our customers. Because having chartered status, I think, is a very important way of signalling that something is a really valid career option. And you can see that in medicine or engineering or any other kind of area of human endeavour. We've seen from work that we've done on skills how important it is that those new skills and technologies around data and around information security need to become pathways that more and more people go into as the economy develops in that direction. Most of the boards of companies, particularly public interest and publicly quoted companies, don't have people with cyber experience on their boards. It's a relatively new field of endeavour. And so as such, the people who have come up onto the boards don't really have any cyber background. And that's going to take some time. And I think if we look back, I don't know, maybe in I don't know how many years, but if we look back, the boards will be populated with people who are essentially digital natives, and we'll all wonder what the fuss was around. But I think we're quite some way off from that. You're right, it hasn't been enough of a priority because it's been siloed into things like business continuity and IT systems and cyber and data security. Those have tended to be separate functions within companies. And what we're seeing now is very much the grouping of a lot of those different parts of an organisation into one discipline, which is sort of being known as operational resilience, which obviously a massive part of that is information security. But I think that kind of formalisation into one area of risk and risk management is really important. I don't think you could say blame, because I don't think when you look at the rise in cybercrime and the rise in cyber breaches, it's pretty much an exponential curve. And I don't think, in terms of business planning for risk, if you have something, you expect the risk to grow at a fairly incremental rate. You don't really expect those risks to grow at an exponential rate. And particularly when the underlying business is growing at an incremental rate, that's very, very hard to deal with, because the resources that you need to deal with the risk always outpace the company's resources, no matter how you do it. So we've got to find different ways of doing it. I think those are starting to emerge. About a year ago, we produced a report on governing cyber risk, and what it sought to do was bridge the gap between the information security professionals and the boards of most companies, because I think there's a lack of understanding on both sides, which leads often to a big sense of frustration. So this framework really looks at two separate areas about the kind of proactivity and challenge, and looks at it and allows you to determine the maturity of an organisation based on 6 separate criteria around strategy, board ownership and financial resilience, and then on the other side of it about executive accountability, assurance and reporting. And having those separate areas and breaking it down allows you to really look at how mature the organisation is on those 6 separate areas. So one of the things that I continually hear from information security professionals is the challenge they have of making the business case for the technology that they need. And so I think it's vital in terms of, from the information security professional side, of being able to determine the business case for this, and being able to express it in ways that the board will understand, in the similar ways that they look at operational risk and other areas, financial risk, liquidity risk, is really important. So having this kind of framework allows them to make the business case and start to look at things like impact tolerance. So for example, an organisation is never going to be able to be 100% secure, but it needs to look at where it wants to realistically be for the business that it's in. And those kind of measures are really, really vital.